We have a deliberate plan on how to transform our nation, and no amount of court cases is going to derail our plan to change Kenya, because the plan and the transformation of Kenya has been delayed for many years by vested interest and corruption and people who do not have a plan on how to take Kenya forward.
We want to ask the President of the Court of Appeal and the Chief Justice that expeditious hearing should be within 3 or 4 days maximum, so that you allow the government to continue with its housing program.
All right, welcome back. That's the President and the leader of majority at the National Assembly. They spoke shortly after that judgment that came, or is it a ruling, from the Court of Appeal in regards to the housing levy, saying that it should not, these stay orders that have been given by the High Court cannot be extended any further. Let's listen to what they are saying in terms of the next steps to sort of allow the program to continue as per plan.
Tunaheshimu mahakama na tutaenda kufanya appeal na tutatengeneza sheria ili mambo ya vijana wa Kenya, ajira ipatikane. Vijana mamilioni wanahangaika madukani vijijini kwa sababu wamemaliza shule lakini hakuna mpango ya vile watapata ajira.
We are concluding the public participation on the new law on housing. We want to tell them that in Parliament we shall also be expeditious in dispensing with that law and giving you a new law. Ili wakisitisha ile ingine rais. Na tunajua sheria haina shida. Those who captured our state, they have also captured our judiciary to undermine, to sabotage all government programs that are benefiting the people of Kenya.
All right, that's an allegation of sabotage, but the leaders in the opposition side have also been speaking, saying this.
Kulingana na uamuzi wa mahakama ya siku ya leo, nataka niseme hivi. Sasa ni jukumu la Central Organization of Trade Unions, KOTU, ya Bwana Atwoli. Bwana Atwoli aache kulala na serikali. Sasa atoe amri wafanyikazi wasitolewe hiyo pesa ya housing kuanzia mwezi huu. Vile vile Federation ya Kenya Employers lazima itoe amri kwa members wake ili mshahara ya mwezi huu hakuna mfanyikazi wa Kenya, awe mwalimu, awe askari, awe mtu yeyote ambaye atalipishwa hiyo kodi ya housing. Katika bunge la kitaifa tuliwaambia kwamba hiyo housing levy ni kinyume cha katiba. Katika bunge la Senate tukawaambia ni kinyume cha katiba. Wakapitisha na kifua eti kwa sababu wana nambari. Leo hii kama mlipa ushuru, kama mtu ambaye alikuwa amenyang'anywa pesa ya housing levy, kwa niaba ya wafanyikazi wote wa Kenya, tunaambia Ruto ikifika leo jioni, uturudishie pesa yetu ambayo ulikuwa umechukua kiharamu. Namba yangu ya M-Pesa uko nayo, unaijua. Nitumie pesa yangu leo.
All right, that's Senator Ledamo Lekina's deputy is speaking right there. And Senator Lekina joins us. He's also the minority whip of the Senate. Good morning. But your reactions to the decision of the Court of Appeal, because they say already there's a finding of unconstitutionality null and void at the High Court. It cannot be extended any further and it cannot be stayed. And that is why they're saying that the deduction should actually stop forthwith. Your reactions to this?
Let me just try and put it very clear in black and white that in this country we are ruled by the rule of law. We have a constitution which has set up 3 arms of government, 3 distinct arms of government with check and balance systems. What that means is very specific, that each branch of government has its own specific responsibilities and limitations. For us to be able to guarantee freedom of rights of all individuals in this country, there's no way we can be able to say that one arm of government is superior than the other arm of government. I've heard what the President has said, and I think it is really wrong for the head of state, who heads his own division, which is the executive, to be able to dictate over the other 2 arms of government. I've also listened keenly to what the majority leader has said from the National Assembly. And I want to be very candid because, in government, there's something which is supposed to ensure continuity. I'm always in the front line saying that the people who matter really are civil servants. We politicians come and go. Mm-hmm. And that is why the framers of the Constitution set up a clear governance structure that separates powers from, the politicians. Politicians can say whatever they say. But ultimately, we have to maintain the rule of law. What the courts have indicated is that they have looked at freedoms, rights, limitations of each and every individual. They have looked at how the whole structure is set up. If you come to Parliament, and I'm happy that my Abti and my other friend are here to be able to discuss, the issue of the issue of going out to the people to talk to them, public participation, it's something which in most cases it's not even adhered to. You will call a public participation session today, and then you'll put it in the newspaper tomorrow. Only a few people will be able to see that in the newspaper. And even what those people say is not taken into consideration. So I think what we need to do is to be very candid, to respect the three arms of government, to respect the fact that we are limited by what we can be able to do. In this government, and also even in Parliament, they always say the majority will always have their way, the minority will have their say. Mm-hmm. But what is this say of the minority? Is it the say of the majority, quietly? Because to tell you the truth, if you look at what has been happening since we came back to Parliament, there's an issue of laws that are really just passed on a daily basis without really looking into them, and they affect individuals' rights. So if you don't take keenly what the public is saying, that we do not want this affordable housing, because it is not affordable housing. Why is it not affordable housing? It is our free land that you're taking. Number two, it is our money that you're deducting from us to be able to build those houses. And then on top of that, you're selling those houses to us more than what a developer would be able to sell those houses to. So I think we have to be very clear and to be candid that this is not about ensuring that there's affordable housing in every part of this country. It is really creating businesses, It's mostly for commercial interests.
When you say the affordable houses are being sold at a higher price than
it's practical.
Developers, how true is that?
It is very true. You go out there and look at the houses which are being sold. One house is sold more than 600,000 shillings, more than, if you look at the houses actually which are right behind you, you'll find that those houses will be sold at 2.6 million. But then with the affordable housing plan, they will sell them at 3.7 million or 3.6 million. They'll be more expensive. How do you expect a person who is barely affording a meal to be able to pay that amount of money? So I think the truth of the matter is, in fact, I saw a meme. It's not even a meme. I saw a very knowledgeable elder speaking and saying, everybody has their home. Why are we trying to compare ourselves with the West? We are not. We have to compare apples to apples. Most of us have our rural homes. If you are telling me that a county government is taking part of their own source revenue, and building affordable houses for their own high school graduates, for their own university graduates, then I would support that, because they will be able to remain and build their own counties. Mm-hmm. So we have a very serious problem here, and the problem here is respecting the rule of law. That's number one. If you look at, and I was giving you an example, because what the courts have said is that we have looked at the Constitution, we have looked at the process that you've taken in making sure that you come up with this affordable housing, and it is unconstitutional. I will tell you something, and this is something that I hope we can be able to talk about today. Even the issue of NHIF and this new body now called Social Health Insurance Fund. If you look at, I think, Section 33(2) of the Section Health Insurance Fund, and I raised this matter during public participation. I raised this matter. The problem now is this. Every piece of legislation which is made in this country is made purely for commercial purposes. It is made with an end with a plan of an end in the game. Saying that, if you look at that section of 33(2), and I dare say that even the new legislation which they are talking about, which Kimani Ichung'wah is talking about, it will be designed in the way that not the Ministry of Housing will be able to do most of the work. you will find that there will be another body which will be set up that can be able to take care of people's commercial interest. Section 33(2) of the Social Health Insurance Fund has created room for another piece of legislation to be created. And this other piece of legislation is to take powers from an existing body to now a private company. A private company, and if you follow that private company, you will know that it belongs to the who is who in this country. So really...
Wait, so what does 33...
Just read it.
What I'm reading here is that a healthcare provider or healthcare facility seeking to be empaneled under the Act shall make an application to the body responsible for accreditation for quality of care in the manner prescribed by the Cabinet Secretary.
Now, I'll tell you something which you don't know, and I'll probably read that again as well because I have it here. Now, read it again. It says, a healthcare provider or healthcare facility seeking to be empaneled under the Act shall make an application to the body responsible of accreditation for the quality of care in the manner prescribed by the Cabinet Secretary. Now, there's a new law which is being set up. And this is a bill, this bill, which my aptee does not even know yet, but is going to come to know very soon, and I happen to know this because I'm a member of the Health. It is going to be called...
It is with the Senate?
No, it's going to be brought to the National Assembly very soon. It is going to be a quality of care bill. Now, this quality of care bill is going to set up a private body, and a company has actually already been registered. You know, it is not going to be dealt by the Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Council to be able to accredit the institution. It is going to be a small private company which is going to be set up that is going to accredit every health institution, every health institution.
So a private company will be created?
Yes.
Through...
No, the Act will be created.
Yeah.
But when the Act will be created, the powers, that Act will give powers to the authority, which is already set up under the Social Health Insurance Fund. That authority then will recruit a company from outside to be able to accredit institution. And that company being created from outside will be the company similar to the one which is, which is mentioned in the Social Health Fund that does the following, that evaluates reimbursements for hospitals. It's a private company.
Claims management. Okay.
It's a very, let me tell you, let me just finish it this way.
Yeah.
The courts have already clearly stated that this is unconstitutional. The best thing that the president should do and the majority leader should do is to set it aside. In the last dispensation, some of us in the initial stages were completely against the BBI. When we were seen to be going against the party, we decided to do what? To support. But ultimately, what did the court say about the BBI?
It's unconstitutional.
And what did the former administration do? They set it aside. They didn't continue thumping their chest, saying we must do it, we must do it. I want to plead to them. And I want, during his free time, if he has a free moment, and I'm sure he does a free moment, the president should go back and read about the Watergate scandal. Read the reason why President Nixon, Richard Nixon, was the only president who resigned from office. Because I think if he reads this, and if he sees everything that he's doing, when he traverses this country, people are booing him. When he tries to push legislation through parliament, because, of course, now they have the majority, which is temporary, the courts say this is unconstitutional. You should see, my friend, I sit in the Senate. My two brothers here sit in the National Assembly. And let us be candid, for once. The way pieces of legislation are now drafted, it is not us drafting them.
Okay.
They are being drafted by the executive. They are brought to us. They are published. The time of publication is reduced. Let me finish my thought. Time of publication is reduced, and then within a week or two, they become law.
Senator, I want to hear from your co-panelists, but you're saying something controversial there. I'm just wondering, when a bill is being introduced, the government bill is being introduced, where does the draft originate?
Well, in most cases, since we are not in the former system of governance where we had the government and the opposition, we have parliament,
But
and
who drafts?
No. They will come up with an idea. The majority leader probably will be able to bring it and push it. The majority leader will definitely push the government bill. But in most cases, it is us, the legislators, who are supposed to look through that. We represent the interests of the people. But the truth of the matter is this. Even the Social Healthcare Fund bill and all these other bills which were passed the other day Those bills were being brought by the Ministry of Health.
Okay.
They are the ones who are pushing them. And today, you'll be surprised. Some of the people, I have a friend of mine called Abdi, who was part of the presidential delivery unit. He was pushing it. And what? The other day, I saw that he was appointed as a board member of the Social Health Fund.
We'll get to that. But Honorable Kainan, please clarify, start by clarifying what the Senator just said about the origin of government bills. Is it you parliamentarians to draft, or is it the executive then introduced through the majority side?
Thank you. I think my good friend, his uncle, biological actually uncle, is ignorant of his own standing orders and parliamentary practice. We're in a presidential system. That is why even he occupies a position called minority whip in the Senate. And if you look at critical Article 108 of the Constitution, you will understand what we have. That being the case, we need to understand our governance structure. We have 3 arms of government, traditional arms of government, and of course the other imagined arms of government. The non-traditional arms is the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. And having taken that sort of a mixed platform, not pure presidential system or a pure Westminster model system, but we have a presidential system on the face of it. And therefore, the party that forms the majority is the party. Sometimes, ordinarily, you may have instances where the party that is majority in the parliament may not be the party forming the government. But for now, the party that is as the majority in both the Senate and the National Assembly is the party that forms also the executive. Meaning there is that synergy, there is that correlation, and then there is that working together. So bills are generated. You have 2 types of bills. We have government or the majority sponsored bill, and we also have private members bill. And both enjoy the same latitude, the same relevance, and the same framework, depending on the mover. So bills are generated by the bills that he has referred to in this particular case are all generated by the leader of majority. The leader of majority, first of all, pass on to Article 108. If you read that, he is the leader of the party or the coalition of parties that form the majority in the House. And therefore, to insinuate that those bills are done by... Of course, bills must have also expert contributions. If it's a health sector-driven bill, there must be contribution from the health sector professionals. There must be contribution from the legal fraternity. Whether it is... So I think the ways bills are generated, there must be an honor. First, you conceive the ideas. Okay? You translate the ideas into a workable draft legal platform. That is now subjected to domestication of the same into a bill. That bill now comes to the Speaker for approval to look at whether it meets the constitutional threshold. Once that is done, it goes for what's something called pre-publication scrutiny through the relevant committee. Again, to determine whether it's a finance bill or not. Once that happens, again, the bill comes back, it's published. Once published, it's introduced first reading. First reading, you know it. Second reading, and then again back to the committee for public participation, it's published. And then third reading, where everybody participates. And at every stage, every member of parliament is involved, because you have every inherent right to introduce changes. So that is the framework of bills. And therefore, to assume that it's something that just the leader of majority thinks out of the blue and introduce it and pass it, I think it's...
So who drafts this?
The person, I tell you, they have 2 types of bills.
Yes.
If it's the leader of majority, it is him and his office. Then he has staff. It's an institution. The leader of majority, actually, and the leader of minority, pass on to Article 108, have the same institutional framework and staff. They have legal experts, they have researchers, they have literally they have staff. So they use their office staff to draft. And then we also have the mainstream legal department, actually, of Parliament that looks at the same, the constitutionality of and otherwise. So this thing is not something that somebody just thinks. It's a process.
So tell me, when you hear that Cabinet has approved a certain bill for introduction in Parliament, what is that?
You see, what they look at, the Cabinet looks at the desire, the need for the country to come up with a particular bill. The bill is published. You see, the government is the executive arm. Parliament is the legislative arm. They work together. Okay? So once it's agreed that there's need to introduce bill or to address a particular lacuna in a particular area, that maybe informs a cabinet decision. That cabinet decision must be translated into a legislative framework. See the way it works, because this is what we say, the interdependence of the different arms of government. So I think that is the stages of bill making. But I think there is something that my friend here has alluded to. First of all, the issue of provision of affordable housing is a constitutional. It's a constitutional provision.
Right.
Two, luckily I sit in the finance and planning. We have been looking at this.
Yeah.
We have three issues even before the court. We have the first court decision that said the housing collection or levy lacked a legal framework. What Parliament did, and it was clear that there was no legal framework, what Parliament did was to come up with a new affordable housing bill that was meant to address this particular lacuna, which was addressed by the court. And then out of the blue, when the same was being subjected to public participation, another court says there shall be no public participation. Ultimately, and I think somebody has explained it ably, I don't know whether it was Murkomen or somebody else, in the next few weeks, or at most a month, we will have this bill, which will have addressed all the issues raised by the courts.
So yes, excuse me, I hear you, but is it possible that the court finds there's a problem, this is a nullity, then you introduce a bill to cure that? Is it possible to work in retrospect?
Don't worry. You know, Parliament has the inherent powers to introduce legislation at any stage. The court has already... You look at the way things work. The work of the court is to interpret, to midwife, should there be a challenge on the understanding of a particular law that has been passed by Parliament. That's why, what's the work of Parliament? To pass legislation. What is the work of the executive? To generate decision-making. What is the work of the judiciary? To interpret judicial issues. The judiciary has interpreted. The work of Parliament is not the first time, is to actualize what that interpretation meant legislatively. And that is why...
That's why I'm asking you a specific question. So the contention...
The applicability and the operationalization will be decided once Parliament passes that particular bill, the commencement date.
Well, that's fine. What I'm asking is, so the housing levy has been deducted for 6 months as of December.
The court allowed.
Yes, 2023. An unconstitutional event based on the finding of the court, never mind the stay orders. But even if you bring the affordable housing bill and it's passed into an act, does it cure what has already happened, if you apply your mind on it?
There are two levels. Up to last week, everything, notwithstanding the unconstitutionality, the court agreed and said, look, we have declared this bit of the law unconstitutional because it lacks a legal framework, but they still allowed the collection. Now, this period where the court say the collection shall no longer continue, we will address there once we have the law in place. But I can tell you, everything once, because we were in Lamu 2 days ago, to make the people of Lamu understand what the housing bill portends actually for them. Once, and even today we have public participation in Nairobi. Once that happens and we have the framework and it comes to Parliament and Parliament agrees or disagrees, the President assents or not assents, it's a process. At that juncture, if assume the Parliament passes and the President assents, there has to be a date for the operationalization of the same. These are the bits that has been raised by the court for those interim period from 25th until the bill is passed. It's something that will be addressed legally. I do not want to delve into that.
I hear you, and that's your specific interpretation. Let's hear first from some of the leaders in the...
But there's okay.
On the Kenya Kwanza side, on what they had to say about the impact of this and the lessons.
The government of Kenya has clear plans on how to create job opportunities. One of them is housing, and we are going to make sure that housing creates at least 500,000 jobs in Kenya to make sure that young people graduating from Mitungu and all other colleges have an opportunity.
Si huyu Rahim ndiye mmepea mamlaka ongea on your behalf. Iko judge mmepigia kura hapa Meru. Iko justice mmepigia kura aongelee. Rahim ndiye mmepea kazi. Rahim aongeleshe ama asiongelee.
By Wednesday this week, I mean next week, tutakuwa tumemaliza report writing. We go and table in Parliament, and Parliament will be recalled. Then we come and pass the law. So I think this is something that will not take more than 2 weeks.
And that's why I implore the judiciary to actually come to the conversation table on issues of national importance. Because those of us who are in executive get frustrated when we do not agree on the things that unite our country to be.
We must always put public interest at the forefront as we make all the decisions that we make as leaders. Na sisi tuko legislature, wale wako judiciary, tafadhali wacha Mkenya akuwe kwanza.
Well, the last speaker there, the chairperson of the Budget Committee, says that put public interest at the forefront in making any decision. And indeed, the Court of Appeal said that the public interest tilts towards the side of not staying those orders and ensuring that the contribution stops. Fred, so with all these fallout and interpretation from what I may call parochial interpretation based on where people see things from, so what next? Especially there are those that are calling, especially the opposition leaders are saying, refund the money. The government side is saying, we have a law that will be passed in the next few days. It is going to cure the legal framework question that was there. So what next?
Thank you, Sam. I've listened to the leaders speak, particularly from the Kenya Kwanza side. And you notice that their interpretation is very restrictive. Restrictive in the sense that they would want this law passed as fast as possible. They say that the courts should also act in the interest of the public. The interest of the public today, after that decision by Court of Appeal, the interest of the public in the public court is that refund the money. And majority of the stakeholders, for example, Federation of Kenya Employers, have said, and they have instructed the employers that should not submit any money. No more money should be deducted. Number two, Honorable Ruto says that this housing program is going to create jobs over 500,000. His own labor CS contradicted him because the labor CS was talking of 130,000. So it begs the question, what is this issue with housing levy? Is it, this housing program, is it a job creation program? Is it affordable housing creation program? Or is it a tax program that is used to get money from the public so that it can be, that money can be used to run government activities? Now, that is not even the issue now.
No, wait. So the Labour CS said 130,000?
Yes.
What?
Jobs.
Created or to be created?
To be created from the housing program.
But I heard the president also say that the program has already created.
You just played a clip where Ruto says they expect 500.
That's what I'm saying, Fred.
Yes.
The president has spoken on many occasions.
Okay.
And just last week he said that 130,000 jobs are being created. His statement have been
130,000.
Just hold on. Here he's saying 500,000 will be created. There's a difference there.
Okay, there's a difference there. But what I want to tell you, Sam, these are numbers that are just being thrown. You see, when you say 130 job opportunities have been created, where are the statistics? From who? They're numbers from the head. Anyone can say numbers. When Ruto says 500 will be created, based on what? At the time when majority of the people are saying, actually they don't want houses. They want food. Now, what I wanted to say, Sam, is we must also go back and remember, this housing is a devolved function that must be followed with resources. And Senator Ledama is here, will bear me witness. When there was division of revenue bill, you remember, that came from the National Assembly and that went to the Senate, 22 members of Senate from UDA denied the counties revenue because they did not vote as per the recommendation of the 407 billion that was supposed to go to the counties. And they gave counties, I think, around 380 something. That means even the money that would otherwise been allocated to housing in the counties was now less. If William Ruto really wants to give Kenyans houses, then the first thing, he should mobilize his Senate, his members of Parliament to ensure that they give the actual amount of money or the necessary, the required money that should go to the counties, and then this function at the counties, the governors take it up. But they have made it a national government project. They are going all over, and they're even demolishing houses that were there before, claiming that they want to build affordable houses. In Nakuru, we saw a publication in the newspaper by some group called Bomayangu. They say for the hustler to get the house, the hustler will have to deposit 10% of the value of the house. If you go by the figures of Ledama, that one house probably would cost 3.5 million, it means that hustler Mamamboga Mtu Boda Boda, that this house is meant for, according to Ruto, would actually deposit 350,000. Some of these hustlers have never seen even 250,000 at a go. They accumulate it over time. How will they own these houses? That's why the court is saying, where is the legal framework for you to ensure that this process is accommodative and not discriminative? But now,
Fred,
sorry,
how much should an affordable house cost?
I'm going by, let me just read for you, affordable housing in Nakuru, 2-bedroom, 3.1 million. 3-bedroom, 4.2 million. To purchase, you'll be required to deposit 10% deposit to qualify. Now, those are published numbers. They are not from Okango. But we are saying if it is to be affordable, Sam, let it be affordable to the targeted group. The targeted group, according to...
So, you've given me figures.
Yes.
A 2-bedroom costing 3.1 million.
Yes.
How much should it cost to be affordable?
1 million.
Even less, even 600,000.
Yes.
600,000?
Yes.
Based on what? What is the cost of input?
Some, what we are saying, and those are technical issues, what we are saying is, when William Ruto says that this affordable housing program is for the hustler, is for the Mamamboga, and the numbers that are projected and published does not reflect the Mamamboga, we question as Azimio. We question. And we are saying that for us...
Please, Fred, I want to listen to Honorable Koech. Listening is, questioning is fine, but you're saying that it should cost 600,000 shillings. Based on what?
Based on the term affordability, so that the Mamamboga can afford it. In my view as Okango, I believe that 3.1 million is way high.
What would be the cost of putting it up?
What was the cost of putting the houses that Uhuru Kenyatta built, and they were not charging this much?
No, I'm asking you, this 3.1 million shilling 2-bedroom house, what was the cost of putting it up? So that it should cost 600,000.
I am looking, let me explain so that you give quite time. I'm looking at what a hustler would afford. And I'm looking at even what William Ruto and team said during campaigns. They said that these houses will be cheap, will be affordable. So in my view, if a Mamamboga can accumulate 300,000 in a year, then most likely to get these houses in 2 years, Mamamboga would need slightly less so that she can get the house. But that is not the issue. Let me finish, Sam. I was going to finish. I strongly believe that this issue of housing that William Ruto is pushing, because I've listened to Kimani Ichung'wah. Kimani Ichung'wah says that even that issue of appeal should take 3 days so that they finish this matter. They are actually directing the courts. The courts cannot be directed by anyone other than the Constitution and the law. William Ruto says that no amount of court cases will stand between him and the housing program. That is intimidation.
That's fine. Please, let's also reflect on the difference between affordable housing and social housing. Then you can have a mention about that, on what exactly you're speaking about, 600,000 shillings. But Honorable Koech, tell me, in all the voices that we hear there's a direct attack on the judiciary by different leaders, whether it's the leader of majority, whether it is CS Murkomen, whether it is the chairperson of the budget committee saying that public interest must guide everyone when such kind of decisions are coming. If the government and the majority side of parliament is to be trusted. Why the antagonism against the judiciary when such decisions come?
You know, first of all, let me laud the judiciary because as a function of democracy, it means that our institutions have grown over time. And even to make such decisions and rulings, it is perfectly okay because it is our robust institutions that we must laud. Secondly, I don't know why there is a problem when judiciary is criticized. I see absolutely nothing wrong with it. We in the legislature are criticized every day, every single day. And I've seen cartoons, I've seen the media make joke of the legislature. You actually track what we do. I have also seen the executive being criticized by Kenyans. There is absolutely no reason why the judiciary
even saying
will not be
that
criticized.
Mulipigia mbunge kura, nani hapa mwe kupigia judge kura?
It is showing the frustration. Sam, let us be very honest. All of us here have had a hot shower today, if I was to talk about housing, for instance. Myself, Honorable Eden Kainan, and Ledema, Olekina, Senator, all of us have benefited from this mortgage scheme, you know. And I want Oledema to tell me if he did not take his mortgage scheme.
I didn't.
You're sure?
Yes.
And you have a house?
Yes, I do.
Or you transferred the mortgage scheme and used it elsewhere.
No.
Because
I didn't.
Anyway, it is a provision.
And I'll give you the real figures of
it is a provision for all members of parliament to enjoy that facility. It is also the provision. It is also
it depends on the area.
It is also the judiciary also enjoys the same facility. I find it very ironical for the same judges who enjoy mortgage to deny Kenyans who will have had an opportunity of enjoying affordable housing the opportunity to have it. So you can sense the frustration. And let me tell you, it took, like Honorable Kainan did say, it took rigorous 3 processes. First of all, these bills came from the cabinet. It was passed to the leader of majority. It was introduced in the House. It passed through rigorous processes before it became a bill and was sent back for approval. So when the judiciary somehow...
Just hold on. So you're saying the bills are drafted by the executive?
No, I'm saying it was introduced, it was adopted by the cabinet.
Yes.
This is what the cabinet says, that this is what we want. Okay. This is what we want. Yes.
Who wrote it?
The cabinet sits and says this is what we want, okay? Because it is in our manifesto as Kenya Kwanza. So the cabinet is seized of every of these documents, and then it is sent to the majority leader. That is how government bills are introduced. And I don't understand why...
No, you're confusing me.
Yeah.
Let's clarify it. You're saying the cabinet expresses itself, this is what we want.
The cabinet has accepted, okay?
In form of what?
And has approved, they are sitting in the cabinet, has approved that part of our agenda is to make sure that we have affordable housing for the citizens of this country, which was also in our manifesto. So, of course, now you have to make it a legal document. That is why you have to introduce it in Parliament as a bill.
So what is that they consider and say this is what we need?
Affordable housing. So the cabinet will always discuss. I mean, through
a cabinet memo.
To a cabinet memo.
A cabinet memo.
Yes.
So how does the cabinet memo become a bill?
A cabinet memo, then, I mean, the cabinet will just say, this is what we need. They don't make laws. Cabinet don't make laws.
Sure.
They simply just discuss and say, as part of our agenda, a government agenda, we want affordable housing for this and this and this. So then it is sent to Parliament. So Parliament will make legislation to tailor...
and I get that.
Yeah.
My specific question is, so Cabinet has approved a memo.
Yes.
How does it become a bill for Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah to introduce in the House?
So the line ministry then will send to Kimani Ichung'wah.
What?
A cabinet memo that, this is what we need.
So who writes it into a bill? Just hold on. Who writes it into a bill?
It is written in Parliament. We have legal office in Parliament. You understand? So before I lose what I was saying,
carry on.
That is how we've engaged on this, and for judges to disagree with it. And let me tell you, Sam, governments are given 5 years. And that is why there is frustration. We do not have the luxury of time. This government was voted on the basis that it has sold to the people of this country a manifesto that included housing, that had health care, provision of healthcare, and many other things. Now, when the courts are seen to be injecting on every of this administration policy, it is frustrating because the people of this country want us to deliver. For instance, if we promise housing and we don't deliver, Ledamo Lekina will make mincemeat of us during the next general election. If we promise affordable...
What about the next election?
Policies are made. I mean, the people of this country have been given 5 years to look at. The government is given 5 years so that it can deliver on the promises that they made. If they don't deliver on those promises, it is on the basis that the same people can kick them out.
That's what I'm saying.
You understand?
Because I understand what you're saying, that if you don't deliver on the housing program...
Yes, not just the housing program, and many other programs.
An example. Senator Lekina will use it to make mincemeat of yourself.
Yes.
So, but at the same time, everything you do has to be in agreement with the Constitution.
That is where I'm coming.
You're saying that you're loading the judiciary for the position it has earned for itself.
I agree.
You're also saying that the judges are denying Kenyans a mortgage opportunity that they themselves enjoy.
Yes.
You're saying that they're being unfair to the program.
Yes.
How can you say all those things in the same sitting, yet you also appreciate the separation of powers and the role of each institution?
That is why I've said we need to have a conversation on the things that touch on the people of this country so that we do not have very flimsy issues that are going to inject very good programs and policies
if something is that,
of this government.
You call that flimsy?
It is perfectly okay, but let me tell you, I've actually seen at where the judges differ on this program. If a judge says this housing program is not fully aligned and it looks unconstitutional, and then we go back and say, okay, fine, let the committee, housing committee, align it to what the judges want it to look like. And immediately after they start public participation, you inject again the same process, then of course that is unfair. Because Article 1 of the Constitution, the sovereign right, the sovereign right belongs to the people of this country. When you find that the people of this country want houses, and when we go for public participation, again, you inject that process, then, of course, you've denied the people of this country.
Do you have a comment to what Fred was saying, whether it's about the houses or the jobs?
I don't... it's both. Both. It's going to provide jobs. And, you know, even Wakili Fred was saying people of this country need food, not houses. But even before you get that, you need money. Where do you get money? You need to do something. So the young people of this country are going to get employed. We have TTIs, and even the president was talking, and behind him was a TTI. We have TTIs that are producing so many young Kenyans, active Kenyans, that will have otherwise been employed in these housing programs.
Okay. I'll just to transition, but Senator, you had something...
Yes. Let me give you the actual cost of building a two-bedroom affordable house. It is actually, and very good question. You said where? You know, I'll give you one in Narok County and I'll give you one in Mandera. Okay? For Narok County, for a two-bedroom house, this is what you will need. You will need 2 lorries of ballast. You will need 2 lorries of sand. You will need cement, 250 bags. You will need binding wire, 4 rolls. You will need, for the roofing, you will need, the binding wire for it. You will need polythene. You will need all these things. It will cost you exactly 975,375 shillings. Then put miscellaneous, 100,000. So for a 2-bedroom house, and I dare challenge, Ruto, give me 1.1 million shillings, I'll build you a 2-bedroom house. Okay? Now, if you go to Mandera, you can increase that by 30%. So maximum that will cost you to build a 2-bedroom, beautiful house will only cost you about 1.3 million shillings. 1.3 million shillings. Now, when you talk about affordable housing, affordable housing means that as a government that cares for its people, you will make sure that you do away with the taxes. And I can tell you, if you sit down with the PS of housing, every single day in his office, he's getting phone calls from contractors who are building affordable housing for him to issue a letter to take to Bamburi, to take to Portland Cement, for him to be given cement without paying the taxes. And in most cases, by the time I was doing these figures, although the dollar now has skyrocketed, it was, and I'll send you these figures. I'll send you every actual penny, because I've already done one for my manager. Okay? By the time I was doing this thing, a bag of cement was costing 650 shillings. You know, if you're given a letter by the PS, and the PS, I swear to God, if you ask him, he'll tell you the truth. You will go there and you'll get it at around 520 shillings. So the taxes will have already been absorbed by the government. Okay? I want us to be able to be honest with each other. My appeal here is not being honest. He said I was being ignorant of our own standing orders. And the truth of the matter is that even the provision of the law that he quoted, Article 108. Article 108 of the Constitution, it only states that there should be a majority leader and a minority leader, and their responsibilities.
Order of precedence.
Okay, it's order of precedence. You know, he also talks about the president, the Speaker of the National Assembly, in terms of the presidents. What we are saying here is this. This thing is evil. This government, what this government has succeeded in doing is that, one, I alluded to it earlier, it has privatized the health sector. Let me tell you. You know those enhanced medical covers that were being given?
We're talking about housing.
Deviating.
You know, no, I'm not deviating. I will give you everything. Number one,
Senator,
it is, you know, the construction sector now is something which is now going to be destroyed by this country, by this government, because it is privatizing every piece of legislation which is going to be drafted. And I dare say, even the legislation which they're talking about passing it in 2 weeks, if you read it clearly, keenly, you will see that it is designed to be able to support the private sector.
Okay.
Particular individuals. Let me finish. Particular individuals. You've asked me a question.
Yes.
I've given you the figures. Okay? For a two-bedroom house, 1.3 million.
That you're saying, what are the specifications of those houses? Is it a bungalow?
It's a bungalow. It is a bungalow. It is a bungalow.
How do you...
In fact, it's even cheaper when you now put up what? If you now put up a flat, it becomes even cheaper. Because what do you really need for a flat? You know, now let me ask you a question. What do you really need for a flat? You need a piece of iron. You know, you raise it up, you put up the concrete, the columns. Okay? So we are talking about affordable. What this government should be doing. Because I hear them saying all the time that we in the Azimio are just criticizing them and we are not advising them.
Okay.
I'll give them free advice. What they should do is, number one, every county government should invest in a crusher. Okay? Get those youth who are unemployed, take them to that crusher, let them learn how to use that crusher, let them crush stones. That's number one. For you to be able to put up an affordable housing unit, you will need sand. Okay? We have sand. Number two, you will need, and each and every county, they are spending billions buying what? Buying earth-moving equipment. My own county of Narok has spent 1.6 billion to buy trucks, earth-moving equipment. If you're talking about affordable housing, why not work government to government, such that you don't have to earn more profit? And say, go to the rivers that that have been approved by NEMA for you to be able to harvest the sand. You know, instead of us paying for the use, we'll just put fuel for you. We bring the fuel. You know, invest in a crusher.
Senator, I wish we had more time because I would have taken
just a look.
And then finally, sorry, allow me to say this.
Senator,
on this issue, just allow me because this is not right.
Because you need to take a look at
on this issue of the government bills, I want my two brothers here to be honest. I've just shared with you on your WhatsApp, if you check, a letter written by the PS setting up a quality team to be able to develop, what was it called? A care control bill. A quality care bill. So what happens is that the government drafts the bill. In fact, to help my brothers here, they bring it as a proposal.
Absolutely.
Okay?
That's what we say.
Now wait, when they bring it as a proposal, they give it, wait, let me finish. They bring it as a proposal, they give it to the majority leader. But guess what? They stay there, they carry out public participation, they make sure that every single proposition goes through regardless of public participation.
It is unfortunate, Honorable Kenan, that three legislators who sit here can't agree on how the laws they consider and pass, how they find themselves in
No, we are not being honest with each other.
Especially when it comes to
the Senate is different.
No, it is not different.
The lawmaking process.
No. This is
the feedback. The show is not over yet. But the Kenyans are saying at Citizen TV Kenya, Sam Gichuku, the hashtag to use is daybreak. And we begin with Okelo Mwalimu. As a symbol of national unity, the president must remain within the confines of the law at all times. He must lead by example in obeying court orders. The holder of the office shouldn't use sunroofs to beat the drums of lawlessness, as this would be counterproductive. Rev Harry, you're saying, on my own view, housing levy is good, for this will help the low and middle class people own their own houses, and thus many are earning a living. Why are the big elites opposed to this? Yet they are given mortgages. Waheshimiwa naomba munijibu. God bless. Godi Baraza, you're saying that KK administration should benchmark with Governor Natembeya on how to set up a sustainable source of livelihood to Kenyans. His social protection initiative, dubbed Kazi Mashinani, is more sustainable than the costly affordable housing. Excuse me. Jay Musoma, most parts of Kenya have tracts of land, and to them, affordable housing is not a priority. The president should rather partner with cosmopolitan counties and fund their governors to implement such, because it is a devolved function. Let them obey court rulings. Babu Michael, it's true that most Kenyans aren't of the affordable housing idea. The KK regime is forcing it into Kenyans by all means, even if it's unconstitutional. I see personal interest in all these projects. They now claim the courts have been captured. And Leonard, the government builds on free land using free money and then sells the house to the same person whose tax was used to construct the house. To whose benefit is the question they are asking. So much more that can be said about that program. I was saying that Senator Lekina, I wish you had time, because you should have looked at the cost book of the quantity surveyors of Kenya in regards to how much it would cost to put up a two-bedroom house. Of course, there are varying factors, including the sort of finishing that you put into that house. I want us to make time for the hate mission, because the court last week found that decision to deploy police officers as part of a security support mission to Haiti to be illegal, unconstitutional, saying that the National